Tell your friends. Tell your friends about Hooks and Ladders, but also about songstudio.ca. You can get all kinds of information about songwriting, tips, and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, like, follow, and subscribe. That's what we need. That's what you need.
Here's another peek at what we did at SongStudio Online last August. Hope you enjoy.
Eric, one of our participants, has a question that I think is pertinent to this. He said, I'm reading now. I'm asking this question as someone who sometimes has trouble coming up with subject matter for songs. I know most of your songs are autobiographical. I've heard you say this in another interview. Can you talk about how these emotions, events, epiphanies get turned into song subject matter? How do you recognize them and convert them into music?
Well, sometimes I just have this feeling inside me. I'm feeling this tremendous emotion about something. You know, for example, when my dad was dying, I was feeling really, really tremendous emotion, as we all do when we have to face this prospect of maybe losing a loved one. And so I would go to the piano knowing that somehow I had to come to terms with this massive sense of depression and dislocation I was feeling, seeing the man who was the strongest man I ever knew slowly start to fade away. And so sometimes we all have things that are affecting us in powerful ways, every one of us. And sometimes it's good to sort of think about those things that are having a huge impact on us emotionally, and then go to the guitar or the piano and try to elaborate and kind of create exactly what you're feeling at the time, because in a sense that those often become the most real songs. They're cathartic and they're very relatable, because chances are the things that you're going through, Blair, or the things that I'm going through are things that we all go through. And again, interestingly enough, because still to this day, men are not encouraged to talk about their feelings. Still, the worst thing you can be called as a man basically is wimp. It's the W word, right? Yeah. But because we're encouraged not to talk about our feelings, when we hear someone, for example, The Weeknd talking about his feelings, you're able to then react to it even more viscerally, because you've always felt that, but you've been afraid to talk about it. So you're hearing another man sing about it, and you gravitate to it because then it's giving you permission to feel those things.
Yeah, I agree. That's very, very, very true. Another participant, Coraline, asks, when you write songs that are autobiographical, do you ever run into interpersonal issues with the people that the songs are about? And do you do anything to mitigate that?
Well, yeah, I have had that issue, or the issue of being with your partner and then writing a song about someone that you used to love. You know, we often go think about that, our very first formative relationships with the opposite sex. They have a huge, huge lasting impact on us for obvious reasons. So, and you know, think of all the songs that have been written about running into your old lover on the street, you know, some of the best songs in the world. And so when I would write those kind of songs, whoever I was with at the time would be very, very upset, you know. So I think that's what I had to deal with the most, is being with a woman who was upset because I might have been writing a song about thinking about a former partner. I would get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. I've been in that situation as well, and I felt that I've explained that songs are snapshots, and it might be a snapshot of a thing you feel fleetingly, but you want to share it, and or it might be a snapshot of something you felt before, and yet I felt, as I was saying it, that I was making excuses, you know, that I was tap dancing to try and, you know, not get in trouble.
The ironic thing is, it's really, I know this might sound cold, but you don't, if you're married to someone who's a doctor, you don't talk to them about how they should be a better doctor and what they shouldn't be doing as a doctor. So, I mean, presumably you're making a living as a songwriter. So when someone starts to try to censor or edit what you're saying, in a way, they're interfering with your job. You're part of you saying, yeah, but you don't have any problem when the royalties come in about spending the money. So you don't have a problem as to the rewards of writing these kinds of songs. You just don't like it when I'm writing it. But this is my job. You know, if you knew what it's not as if I was first a school teacher and someone married me and then suddenly they find out that I'm a songwriter. They knew from the very beginning what I did,
Right.
and they made the conscious decision to be my partner. So you basically have to go the minute you have to edit yourself as a writer, whether you're a fiction writer, a novelist, or a songwriter, you're in a lot of trouble because you have to be brave.
Right. Coraline, who asked the question, goes on to say she's writing an album essentially about her mother's death, and appreciates hearing from a songwriter who has a similar processing approach. And I would think. Oh, and she goes on to ask, do you have questions or concerns about betraying confidences when you write intensely personal songs?
I've had problems. The problem again is, betraying confidence is the confidence being how I felt when I ran into my ex-wife at my niece's wedding, seeing her with her partner for the first time, me writing a song about it. Whereas I'm not saying I want to be back together again, but how I felt upon seeing her with a new partner. And so then the person I'm with, of course, freaks out and says, well, no, what, you can never play this song again. In terms of betraying confidences, to be honest, Blair, I have a lot more problems with the prose writing. It's the prose writing that gets me in trouble. The songwriting usually doesn't. I mean,
right.
If Sting writes Every Breath You Take, and he's presumably with a new partner, she can say, well, I don't like that you've written this song, but obviously it's a great song. So she's got to deal with it. You have no other choice. So it's with prose writing that I have to worry about betraying confidences.
Right. Well, in I Am My Father's Son, Memoir of Love and Forgiveness, your book from 2009, beautiful book, very personal and very much about your family. And you talk about sensitive things. You talk about growing up and what it was like and with both your parents and et cetera, et cetera. And I wonder, was there any fallout from that, and how do you deal with that?
Oh yeah, a lot of fallout from my late sister and my late mom. They both were very upset with that book. My mom said, Dan, I love you, and I hate your book.
Right.
I always remember that for some reason, that phrase just sort of stayed with me.
Sure.
She didn't appreciate what I had to say about my father because she was so loyal to my father, even though I tried to write a balanced account of my dad, but I think she read that first chapter where my dad was portrayed in an accurate way, but in a certain way, and that was it. She didn't read the rest of the book. My sister was angry because she felt that I portrayed her in ways that she didn't disagree with, but she felt that she wished she hadn't been portrayed as. So yeah, there was a lot of people that got upset. I wrote an article that was published in the Globe Mail a year and a half ago, that upset some of my so-called friends because it was talking about racism that I grew up with in my family that I haven't spoken to them since. But I wasn't really being confident. I was just talking about my experience with racism, and they didn't like what I had to say.
That's tough. That's really hard. It's a sort of a double whammy, really, because you experience the racism itself, and then you experience their rejection or non-validation of it, which is tough, obviously. So, but how important then? I mean, I think I know the answer to this because you've written the book and you've published the articles and so forth. But you must feel it's important to have your point of view out there, to express yourself that way and not censor yourself just because it might ruffle some feathers.
Well, look what happened to Salman Rushdie.
Yeah.
And he said above everything else, the most important thing as a writer is to be brave, to be courageous. So there are certain things that you won't put. There are certain things about my mom that I didn't want to write in that book because it would have been hard for my mom to be alive to see, but that I'm writing now in my new book because she's no longer alive. So it's always sort of a balancing act. But when it comes to songs, somehow I think the thing about songs is the words that you're hearing are supported by music and melody and chords. And I think by dint of the words being supported by music, they sometimes have less of a crushing impact as reading the words on a written page. And as you know, some men in particular don't listen to the words as viscerally as women do. A lot of men will tell you they don't even really listen to the words. What they're listening to is the sound of the words, which obviously is as important as a songwriter as the actual meaning of the words. So I think because the music is taking the sting out of the words, in my particular experience, I haven't gotten into the same amount of trouble as when I've written an article.
Thanks for taking a glimpse with us inside the SongStudio workshop from last August. Stay tuned for more.